Hi, I'm Nick Harcourt. This is Guitar Center Sessions, live from the Wiltern in Los Angeles. Please welcome Linkin Park.
Talk team and check the paper out. Only think about bank accounts, assets, and realty. Anybody's expense, no shade with a clear conscience. No regrets, guilt-free. Claiming ain't the way that they built me. Smoke screen before the flames. Noticing as though the deal peak. See it's time for things to change. Rearrange the good product and build cheap. Anything is more to gain. Dream manipulated like us, real deep. Until no more remains, but I'm still me. Like authentic hip-hop and rock to pop and radio. And record companies kill me. Try to force me to stray and obey. Got the gall to say how real could real be. You feel me? We'll see. That greed could be to blame. Greedy for the pain. TV your name. Meaning of the game. To me you're all the same. You're guilty. What? Guilty. 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 You're guilty of the same. Too sick to be ashamed. You want to point your finger, but there's no one else to blame. You're guilty of the same. Too sick to be ashamed. You want to point your finger, but there's no one else to blame. There's no one else to blame. Guilty all the same. Guilty all the same. You're guilty all the same. 'Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame. Put your name to shame, cover up your face. You can't run the race, the pace is too fast. You love the way I look at you while taking pleasure in the awful things you put me through. You take away when I give in. You like to think you're never wrong. You live what you learn. You want to act like you're someone. You live what you learn. You want someone to wear like you. You live what you learn. You want to share what you've been through. You live what you learn. You love the things I say I'll do. The way I hurt myself again just to get back If you're standing on your feet now, let me see you jump to this shit. Go! I cannot take this anymore. Saying everything I've said before. All these words, they make no sense. I found bliss in ignorance. Less I hear, the less you say. You'll find that out anywhere. Just like before. Everything you say to me takes me one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. I need a little room to break. Cause I'm one step closer to the edge. Cause I'm about to break. I find the answers aren't so clear. Wish I could find a way to disappear. All these thoughts, they make no sense. I found bliss in ignorance. Nothing seems to go away. Over and over again. Just like before. Everything you say to me takes me one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. I need a little room to break. Cause I'm one step closer to the edge. Cause I'm about to break. Everything you say to me takes me one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. I need a little room to break. One step closer to the edge. Cause I'm about to break. Shut up when I'm talking to you. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up when I'm talking to you. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. I'm about to break everything you say to me. Takes me one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. I need a little room to break. Cause I'm one step closer to the edge. Cause I'm about to break everything you say to me. Takes me one step closer to the edge. I'm about to break. I need a little room to break. Cause I'm one step closer to the edge. Cause I'm about to break. Shut up when I'm talking to you. Shut up when I'm talking to you.
I'm Nick Harcourt, and we're here with Chester and Mike from Linkin Park. And we're at the Wiltern, which is a little bit of a different venue for us. Thank you for coming and playing in this great place.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Let's get into it. I mean, this is a band with a 15-year history, 6 albums, 5 number ones, Grammys, biggest band on Facebook. What do you think it is about Linkin Park's music and your career to date that keeps you so relevant and on top of things?
You know, I think that we've always had a really great understanding of what it is we want to accomplish. And each of us as individuals in the band, we want to do what's best for the song. And we want to participate in the way that's going to make the song the best it can possibly be. And by doing that, I think we've learned over time to know how to control, you know, our egos and also, you know, be able to control wanting to take over a song individually, you know, with whoever's talents may want to shine. And I think that that's something that's helped keep us consistent, and also I think it's kept a lot of our music a little more timeless and less kind of time specific or, you know, era specific.
Can I ask each of you individually to explain the influence and power of music in your lives?
Wow. I can start. I mean, I was thinking the other day about like driving in a car. We used to take these long trips with my parents and my brother. We'd drive up into the, we lived in LA, and we would go a couple times a year up to the mountains. It was like a 7-hour drive up to the cabin we usually went to, and I just have my, you know, I basically have my headphones on the entire time. And I have a hard time like remembering what it was that I was even like thinking about or I kind of know what I was listening to, but it was, you know, I was always just completely immersed in the music and what I was listening to. And I grew up playing piano since I was like 3. So it was always just kind of there. And my family, like my mom and dad weren't particularly musical. They just really, you know, thought it was something that they wanted me to have. And then at a certain point, they knew that I was really into it. Not so much the classical as just like, you know, being able to express myself.
Chester?
Yeah, I remember being fairly young, and my brother and my sisters were in the car. We were playing a game where we were deciding on, you know, telling everyone what we were going to be when we grew up. And I said I wanted to be a rock star. It was just really funny because everybody kind of looked at me like I was crazy, it was cute because they were all they were being serious about what they wanted to be. And I was being serious too. I mean, I always remember being drawn to music in a way that I just felt compelled to sing. I felt compelled to feel the music in a way that was important. And I remember all the way back to being a little kid and being like probably in 4th grade and hearing that Peter Cetera song from The Karate Kid. You know, that's the moment I think I kind of remember kind of thinking I might love a girl for the first time or something, or think I did, and I just missed her a lot. And I remember always feeling that kind of connection for the song to that memory of feeling that way. It was just, and every time I hear that song, it's like, it takes me back to that place. And I think that's what music is, and for a lot of us, it's like it really is the soundtrack to our lives. It kind of the music that we listen to really is, you know, kind of like it's kind of like the clothes we wear. It kind of shows people who we are and what we're about, and without, you know, having to really get to know somebody, or it's just a great way to experience life, you know?
People were with us 14 years ago. Even if some of you were fibbing a little bit, we'll take you there right now. Y'all ready? Let's go, yeah! Bounce, 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 bounce. Yeah, 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 yeah. Why does it feel like night today? Something inside's not right today. Why am I so uptight today? Paranoia's all I got left. I don't know what struck me first or how the pressure was fed, but I know just what it feels like to have a voice in the back of my head. It's like a face that I hold in, face that awakes and they close in, face that watches every time they, face that laughs every time they fall. So you know that when it's time to sink or swim, that the face inside is hearing me. It's like I'm paranoid, looking over my back. It's like a whirlwind inside of my head. It's like I can't stop what I'm hearing within. It's like the face inside is what's beneath my skin. inside is right beneath your skin. The face inside is right beneath your skin. The sun goes down. I feel the light betray me. The sun goes down. I feel the light betray me. It's like a paranoid looking over my back. It's like a whirlwind inside of my head. It's like I can't stop what I'm hearing within. It's like the face inside is right beneath the skin. It's like a paranoid looking over my back. It's like a whirlwind inside of my head. It's like I can't stop what I'm hearing within. It's like I can't stop what I'm hearing within. It's like I can't stop what I'm hearing within. It's like the face inside is right beneath my skin. Thank you. And now we'll bring you up to the future. How many people have the hunting party? This is called Rebellion. Can I see you guys jumping for this one? Jump, 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 jump. I've seen the blood, I've seen the broken, the lost in the sights unseen. I want a flood, I want an ocean to wash my confusion clean. I can't resolve this empty story. I can't repair the damage done. We are the fortunate ones who never faced oppression's gun. We are the fortunate ones, invitations of rebellion. We acted out, we wear the colors, defined by the things we own. We're not without, we're like each other, pretending we're here alone. Far away, they burn their buildings, right in the face of the damage Everybody put your hands up, come on. Yeah, like this. Cycle repeated as explosions broke in the sky. All that I needed was the one thing I couldn't find, and you were there at the turn, ready to let me know. We're building it to break it back, Joe. We're building it to burn it down. We can't wait to burn it to the ground. The colors conflicted as the flames climbed into the clouds. I wanted to fix this, but couldn't stop from tearing it down. And you were there at the turn, caught in the burning glow. And I was there at the turn, waiting to let you know. We're building it to break it back, Joe. We're building it to burn it down. We can't wait to burn it to show me yes, felt me high. I believe when you told that lie. I play soldier, you play king. Struck me down when I kissed that ring. You lost that right to hold that crown. Built you up, but you let me down. So when you fall, I take my turn. Fan the flames as your blazes burn. You were there at the turn, waiting to let me know. We're building it to break it back, Joe. We're building it to burn it down. We can't wait to burn it to the ground. When you fall, I take my turn. Fan the flames as your blazes burn. We can't wait to burn it to the ground. Take my turn. Fan the flames as your blazes burn. We can't wait to burn it to the ground. Thank you.
Mike, maybe I could ask you to go back a little bit to the beginnings of the band, the genesis of the band, so to speak, mid-90s, San Fernando Valley. What was going on? What was going on around you that made you guys get together to start this project at the beginning?
Before I actually moved up there, I was down deeper into the valley. I grew up in Woodland Hills, and the difference between Agora and Woodland Hills is that Woodland Hills at the time was they had a school program where they were bringing kids up from the inner city to get them out of the hood and bring them up to an area that wasn't so dangerous, and so they could focus on their school, their work, and improving as students and so on. And so with that said, a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends were from downtown LA, West LA, and they were the ones who introduced me to rap music. And our group of friends was like, it was like Korean, Mexican, Armenian, Jewish, it was, 15 kids, all different backgrounds.
A lot of different influences coming in.
Yeah. And then I moved up to Agora, and it was a lot less so. They didn't have a program where there wasn't as much diversity.
It's not that far away, though, is it really?
No, it's only 15 minutes away.
But
the kids who were getting bussed in were another 45 minutes away. So the people in Agora rarely went down an hour plus. In LA, traffic's like 2 hours. But the bottom line is that once I moved up there, my tastes had already really developed a lot with the people that I grew up with. And so I'm in high school now, and nobody's heard of Public Enemy, nobody's heard of LL Cool J, nobody's heard of Two Live Crew, nobody's heard of Ice-T and NWA. And I'm kind of searching out people who knew the stuff I didn't knew. And one of my best friends, actually, one of the things we got along so well, one of the reasons we got along so well is we both drew, we were both artists, and he had a wicked sense of humor, he's so funny, and he really loved alternative music, from Depeche Mode and the darker new wave bands to what was going on at the time, which was the beginning of grunge. And so he was introducing me to all that stuff, which I had never heard, and I was introducing him to all the rap stuff, which was coming out at the time, and that was around the time of Cypress Hill and stuff like that. So I remember I gave him the first Cypress Hill album and introduced him to that. He introduced me to Alice in Chains and Nine Inch Nails. And we just got this crazy thing going, and so the two of us ended up, he played guitar, I played, at the time I was learning how to use a sampler and keyboards, and I had this little 4-track cassette recorder that I could make songs on. And so the two of us would get together every weekend and just throw down these weird ideas. Sometimes they'd be serious songs, sometimes they'd be jokes, sometimes we were imitating other rap groups or bands or whatever, and we were just playing, But it was just two of us learning how to kind of do everything that you would do to make a song, and that was the beginning of the thing, As time went on, it got more and more serious. We started adding the other guys in the band. His next door neighbor was Brad, who was a guitar player. Brad was going to school at UCLA with a guy named Dave. I was going to school with Joe, who was DJ. And so we just picked 1 degree of separation, friends, brought them into the group. And then my good friend who I started the band with, at a certain point, we just hit a wall and we realized that he couldn't be the singer. It just wasn't going to work out. And that's when we started reaching out. We parted ways and we started reaching out and looking to find that missing component, that singer.
And enter Chester. What were you doing at the time, and how did you connect with these guys?
It was the most random possible situation from my perspective, because I was almost 23 at the time when I got a call from Scott Harrington, who represented the band that I had been in, pretty much the only band I had been in, through my teens and early 20s. And we had hired him to kind of help, see if he could help us get a deal or kind of get our foot in the door at labels or whatever to get a scene, because nobody was coming to Arizona to see bands. And we were actually drawing quite a few people often. Sometimes thousands of people would come see us play, which is pretty cool. And at that point, when you have 2,000 or 3,000 people showing up to see you play, that's not you as a teenager calling your friends saying, "Hey, come see me play." That's
something's going on.
Yeah, people they're figuring it out.
Sure.
I think for us though, we didn't really have somebody in the band that was super gifted at communication and also kind of with a vision. But we could never find the right thing, and we just kind of ended up falling apart. So I actually quit music. I was gonna become a desk person and sell something. I don't know.
Sure, sure you were.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
I was gonna hang up my skateboard and
a business hobbit.
I hung up my skateboard and cut my dreadlocks off and put my pleather suits away and put my tie on and loafers and showed up and scanned maps and did that kind of stuff.
Clearly that wasn't going to last. So
I got this phone call randomly out of nowhere from Scott after years of not really talking to him. And then he told me about these kids from California who were creating something really special that sounded different and that really had potential in his opinion. And they needed a singer, and the first person he thought of was me. And I kind of laughed and I said, screw it. I'll take a listen to it. I listened to it. It was great. And I asked my boss if I could try this thing out for a while, and if it didn't work, if I could have my job back. And she said yes. And so I left. I literally, within a few days, I was in California, and I pretty much think, with the exception of like a week after that first week of us getting together, I stayed out there, and I have been out there ever since. Thank you.
Out here today. Then you can help me out with this shit, you ready? Just 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure and 50% pain and 100% Mike, he doesn't need his name up in lights, he just wants to be heard, whether it's the beat of the mic. He feels so unlike everybody else alone, in spite of the fact some people still think that they know him, but fuck him, he knows the code. It's not about a salary, it's all about reality. Making some noise, making a story, making sure his click stays up. That means when he puts it down, y'all are picking it up. Forget Mike, nobody really knows how, why he works so hard. Feels like he's never got time because he writes every note and he writes every line. And I've seen him at work when that light goes on in his mind. It's like a design written in his head every time before he even touches the key or speaks in a rhyme. And those motherfuckers he runs with are still in their proud. Ridiculous, without even trying. How does he do it? 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure and 50% pain. Thank you guys very much. Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll with the LA boys. For one last time, I need y'all to roll. So what the hell are you waiting for? After us, there should be no more. So for one last time, people make some noise. Get him, Chester.
Tired of being what you want me to be. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. I don't know what you're expecting of me. Put under the pressure, walking in your shoes.
Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow.
Every step that I take is another mistake to you.
Caught in the undertow, just caught in the undertow. So for one last time, people make some noise.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. You know how this one goes. You guys start. Ready, go.
It starts with
One thing, I don't know why. Doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to explain in due time.
all I know.
Time is a valuable thing. Watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Watch it count down to the end of the day. The clock ticks life away and it's
So unreal.
didn't look out below. Watch the time go right out the window. Trying to hold on and didn't even know I wasted it all just to watch you go. I kept everything inside and even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to me will eventually be a memory of a time I
Tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I got too far to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
One thing, I don't know why. Doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to remind myself how I
Tried so hard.
In spite of the way you were mocking me, acting like I was part of your property, remembering all the times you fought with me. I'm surprised that it got so things aren't the way they were before. You wouldn't even recognize me anymore. Not that you knew me back then, but it all comes back to me in the end. You kept everything inside, and even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to me will eventually be a memory of a time I tried.
Tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I got too far to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I put my trust in you, pushed as far as I can go. For all this, there's only one thing you should know. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I got too far to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Thank you. Disregard, handful of complaints, and I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. What I want you to want, what I want you to feel, and it's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. So let go, watching you turn your back like you always do. Face away and pretend and I'm not. I'll be here 'cause you're all that I got.
I can't bear the way I give you back. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored. Time won't tell this damage anymore. Don't turn your back on me. I won't be ignored.
I am a little bit insecure, a little unconfident, 'cause you don't understand to do what I can, and sometimes it don't make sense.
I
all of this experimentation, both sonically and you finding your voice, led to the appropriately titled Hybrid Theory. And you guys came out of the gate with that album. Tell us about that time, late 2000, early 2001.
Well, I think for us, it was a really crazy time. It was like, I think, probably the single most, I think, confident moment in our career. Like, we knew, like, we had a thing, and we were like, we knew that it was cool, and we knew that we liked it. We were excited about it. So we just, like, all we wanted to do was more of it. And it was really hard for, I think, a lot of labels to understand how to even market us, because in 1 second you're hearing a song like Points of Authority, which is pretty heavy. And then, like, the next thing you hear is like a song that would eventually sound like or become something like In the End. It's really kind of poppy and almost like not, if you heard them separately, you probably wouldn't even think they were the same band. So I think a lot of, even if they liked a piece or a thing or something, it was hard for them to put the whole thing together and really see what it was going to be and how it was going to work for them.
Well, they also, at the time, they were thinking through the lens of what was already popular. And to them, they couldn't understand the difference between nu metal at the time and what we were doing. Like, we never considered ourselves a nu metal band. And that was the thing that eventually got, we got labeled as. And the main thing was just that there was rapping and there was like the certain guitar sounds and whatever, but we never wanted to carry that flag. We always thought of ourselves as doing something different. And a part of it was because the references were like, most of those bands, like I was calling them frat rock at the time. Like, that was my word for it before there was a really word nu metal. Because it was very it was macho to the point of being like misogynistic.
Imagine being in a band and making a record, and the people that are controlling the purse strings and kind of wanting you to sit, now you're in business with somebody, they want to sell your stuff, and they obviously reasonably so are in the business of selling music, so they have an opinion that they feel is valid. And they're telling you to be like something that you're kind of like making fun of on the side.
And clearly we don't, we know the difference, and they don't get the difference.
It was it was a very turbulent kind of time for us because we knew what we wanted to do, but we kind of got signed, and at the time, the label really didn't want us. It's just one of these things where it was like, we had to really fight, and I think that kind of anger and frustration and all that stuff really fed into, I think, that was our story. That's what was pissing us off, and so we had to fight for it. And then when it came out, it was like, to everyone's surprise, and continuing
the number one.
Continuing to surprise me.
The week it came out, we were saying we had like guesses on how many albums it would sell the first week. We were traveling across the U.S. in an RV together, playing shows, and the low guess was 5,000 copies the first week, and the high guess was 12, and it came out and sold almost 45.
And more success, continued success, but with success often comes a time for a lot of bands, a lot of artists, where success perhaps gets scary, where success is perhaps something that people are frightened won't continue. And I know that, Chester, you hit a point where you needed to really take stock of where you were at. What was going on for you?
Well, I think for me, the success of the band was never really the thing that was the problem for me. I mean, a lot of my stuff I was carrying around for a long time. And then it was also like the relationship, honestly, between my ex-wife and I at the time, really played a huge role in kind of how I viewed the world and kind of how I secluded myself in a lot of ways from people, because when your home life is so weird, you kind of don't want people to see a lot of it. So you kind of You know, you just let people see a little bit of it. But when you do that, you kind of find yourself really not knowing who you are. And I knew that it got to a point where the person that I knew who I was in my mind and in my soul, I wasn't being that person outwardly in the world. And so that kind of fucks with you a little bit. I think for me, you know, it was more of a personal, spiritual journey as opposed to like how am I reacting to the success of what I love to do. And that's when everything else caught up at the same time. So the stuff that I was carrying from my childhood with that, coupled with probably the fact that I was successful and I could kind of disappear for a while, you know, I think that was a perfect combination for a lot of things where I needed to, you know, reevaluate how I wanted to live my life. And so the band came and helped me out, and you know, I got rid of a lot of things and replaced a lot of things with some.
I think that was a really important time.
With some good people around me and good, positive experiences that weren't just the band.
A lot of people find as they get older that they have trauma from their past, and that things that are happening today can trigger that trauma. You talk about your divorce. Once that was triggered for you, I mean, a lot of bands go through addiction and problems like that. And once you realize that that's what you were in, and your friends are coming to you saying, hey, you're our friend, you're not just the singer in the band, how can we participate and help you? I'm guessing that music had a lot to do with that.
Well, I think for me, music was always the one thing that I enjoyed the most about life. And it was the one thing that was consistently, especially in this group, consistently paying off. So you put the time into communication, you put time into the work, and then you get the fruit of that, and everyone was kind of moving in sync. So when you have something that's moving in sync, and then you remove yourself from that and then go into the rest of your day, and it's not in sync, it becomes really frustrating. And so in many ways, gears were clicking on really high levels, but for me, things just weren't really moving in every other aspect of my life, moving in the same direction. And so it was that transitional period when we were making Minutes to Midnight. Not only were we transitioning as artists and going, we're working with Rick Rubin, but we're ready to go make a record that doesn't sound anything like what people are going to expect, and it's going to be risky. But it was also like, okay, I'm going to like now go work on enjoying the rest of life outside of making music. So, it was good that the band took a really long time to like kind of experiment and play for me personally, because it gave me a chance to like come in and be productive and be able to go away and be productive, and then come in and be productive and go away. And all of a sudden it was like, I started coming around, and it was like, oh crap, like I don't think the guys ever even really knew who I was as a person up to that point, because I was just like a mess. I was just kind of surviving. And so it was really a fun time for the band, even though it was a very difficult time. I think it was a really inspiring time, and it was a really, it was where we went from being, for me it was like, I want to be friends with you guys, but I don't really know you guys. And it was like 9 months, a year later, we're signed, and 2 years later, we've got like the biggest debut, one of the biggest debuts of all time.
How would you describe the place the band was in going into the recordings for the new album, Hunting Party?
Well, I think that we had comfortably gone way out of where anyone who even was close to the band would think we would go. I think it's been kind of fun to go somewhere creatively, and then people think they have you pegged, and then you go somewhere else, and then they freak out about it, and then they kind of get used to it, and then they appreciate it, and then they think they have you pegged, and then you freaking go even crazier.
But you've always done that. You've always wanted
it's this
to
thing where it's
surprise.
Yeah, it's scary, because when we do it, we know we're doing it, and we know what that means to the people who have expectations. And it's scary sometimes to put a record out going, we like it, which is the most important part. That's the most important thing for us. We all have to check off on everything, which also is a very interesting process, and it's something that we've gotten better at over time. But I think it's really the reason why we laugh about it is because we haven't gotten rid of the process, because it is the best way to include everyone in the band all the time throughout the whole process, to make sure that when we put a record out, someone's not going, what? That song made it? Or I didn't, why didn't anybody tell me? So it's one of those things where, we've learned how to take risks, be confident about it, because we know that if we all like it, then we can stand behind it even if everybody else says they don't, which would be shocking.
All right, you guys are gonna sing this next one, okay? Just you.
Lack of self-control, I fear is never ending. Controlling, I can't seem to find myself again. My walls are closing in.
Without a sense of confidence, I'm convinced that's just too much pressure to take.
I've felt this way before, so insecure. Come on!
About yesterday, remembering I'm pretending to be where I'm not anymore. A little taste of hypocrisy, and I'm left to the wake of the mistake. Slow to react, even though you're so close to me. You're still so distant, I can't bring you back.
It's said 1,000 times, but now I know. It's finding what you got sometimes. It's finding where to go. And I can finally see your light when I let go. 'Cause you don't know what you got until it's gone. it's gone. Till it's
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys had a good time this evening, thank you so much. LA, we love you. Thank you. Yeah. This one is going to be our last one, so if you guys have any energy left, now is the time to use it. People up top, are you with me? People on the bottom, you with me? All right. Now here we go with 100 times. Hand grenade pins in every line. Throw 'em up, let something shine. Going out of my fucking mind. Filthy mouth, no excuse. Find a new place to hang this noose. String me up from atop these roofs. Not tight so I won't get loose. Truth is you can stop and stare. Let myself out and no one cares. Dark the trench out and lay down there with a shovel up out and reach somewhere. Yeah, someone pour it in. Making a dirt dance floor again. Say your prayers and stop it out when they bring that chorus in.
I bleed it out, digging deeper just to blow it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to blow it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to blow it away. Just to blow it away, just to throw it away.
I bleed it out, cool, stop the show. Choppy words and a sloppy flow. Shotgun opera, lock it low. Pack it back in and watch it go. Mama help me, I've been cursed. Decks rolling in every verse. Candy paint on his brand new words. I can't contain him, I know keywords. Fuck this hurts, I won't lie. Doesn't matter how hard I try. Half the words don't mean a thing, and I know that I won't be satisfied. So why try ignoring him? Making a dirt dance floor again. Say your prayers and stop it out when they bring that chorus in. I bleed it out.
Digging deeper just to throw it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. I bleed it out, digging deeper just to throw it away. Just to throw it away, just to throw it away. I bleed it out. If I've been out this good, I'm right now priceless. I put myself down on your choice.
Are you guys ready to sing along with me? I want to hear everybody in here singing.
Lift me up, let me go. Lift me up, let me go. I beat it down, digging deeper just to blow it away. I beat it down, digging deeper just to blow it away. Just to blow it away. I beat it down, digging deeper just to blow it away. I beat it down, digging deeper just to blow it away. I beat it down, digging deeper just to blow it away. Just to blow it away, just to blow it away. I beat it up. I beat it up. I beat it down, digging deeper
So at 15 years in, 6 albums, clearly you've pushed yourselves creatively, but you've evolved as artists and as guys. Maybe I can ask you, each of you separately, maybe starting off with Mike, give us one of your greatest musical moments, whether it's on stage, whether it's in a studio, whether it was in the songwriting process, something that stands out to you.
On just a personal level, it's funny because I feel like sitting here today, like I always, Chester's so nice and so like it's so always so flattering to do these types of interviews with him because he'll always say the nicest things about me, and he means them, and
He seems easy to get along
I
with.
don't even have to pay him to do it. It's really, but sometimes, you know, as a group, like we all get, like, you know, we're in the tunnel, and it's a fast and crazy ride to be in this band, and it's always a lot going on, and like if you follow us on social media, you'd know immediately how insane it probably is on the inside because it's like it feels like a new thing is happening or getting released or whatever every few days. There was a time when like all along, I just did what I did. When we were in the studio, I just knew my role and I just did what I did. And there was a conversation I remember having with the guys around the time of 1,000 Suns when they said, you know, we want to give you a producer credit on the album because that's really what you're doing. And we didn't really know, none of us knew that that's what my role was. We just thought it was writing, but it wasn't. There's something else. And it was like this nod of like not only like an acknowledgement of like work done, but also like a trust that they were putting in me to say like, you're gonna help steer the ship. And we're putting it on paper so that everybody knows that's what you're doing. And I think as time went on, I took that role more and more seriously to the point where on this on The Hunting Party, it's a self-produced record. It's just me and Brad. Brad's always been my like right-hand man in the studio. He's really great at a number of really important things in the studio, and he's always my sounding board. And together, like we feel like at this point we've learned enough stuff that we can actually say in our heads, say no to the idea of working with Rick Rubin and feel okay with that. Feel like I'm not better. I'm not better than Rick, but I know what I want, and I know I can get there without any help. And I may not be as good as him, but I know that I can get exactly what I want.
I think when it came to this album, I think this is probably the most proud moment for me was making this last record because we literally got to the point where everyone around us now sees us the way that we see ourselves as a group of guys that when we get together, something special happens. And we're good enough now so that our peers and the people who do business with us to let us just kind of do it because we didn't ask for Mike and Brad to produce the record. It just happened that way because we're making music, playing it for the guys at Warner Brothers. They're excited, saying, great, keep it going. It was like, there was never a moment where it felt like, I'm sure if there had been, you know, the guys at Warner Brothers would have said, hey, you know, these are great, but it might be a good idea to talk to somebody and get somebody in here to kind of push things around. Absolutely a conversation that it would have happened every other album. Now we're at a point where it's like, this is really great, and it is working. Why? Because there isn't that feeling that we need to work with somebody else, and it just kind of happened this way. That is where you want to be as an artist, is to be allowed to be in your most comfortable zone. And for us, it's working as a band together.
It's so great talking to you because the passion that you both exude from talking about the early days to talking about this most recent album, the fact that both of you talk about that as being a highlight for you musically is pretty impressive. I want to thank you for talking to us. Great pleasure to have you on Guitar Center Sessions, and continued success for Linkin Park. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys. That does it for another episode of Guitar Center Sessions. My thanks to Chester and Mike from Linkin Park and the whole band. Until the next time, I'm Nick Harcourt. Thanks for watching.